Hi, I'm Norman Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. Today we have a special treat for you. Just a few days ago, the Tony Awards were announced, and one of the winners of a Tony Award was my guest today. He's Wayne Cilento, who is the choreographer of The Who's Tommy. And it's just great, Wayne, to have you here today when you're still in the euphoria of the victory on a really marvelous show, which I saw the other night. What does it mean to win a Tony? I mean, what does it mean to you?
That's an interesting question because it's very special. It's an honor to get something like that, and you don't realize I'm getting waves of excitement. Yesterday I was working out, and in the middle of doing bench presses, I went, oh my God, I have the best choreography on Broadway. And it was like I had to drop the weights. And so,
you couldn't believe that really had happened to you?
No, because there's so many things to be dealing with. Like the Tonys itself, it was like, am I going to thank the right people? What am I going to look like?
When I saw you bounding up to the stage and your face, the sun was shining.
Right, I flew. But there's just so many elements, and then you think, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm in a theater, and I'm nominated for the best choreography on Broadway, which you don't, actually, sometimes you don't even deal with. You don't even realize that that's why you're there. There's so much other stuff going on. And then you think about your competition, about where you've come from, and who's paid their dues, and if the work is good, and the acknowledgement and stuff like that, and you kind of forget that it's an honor to win a Tony, and for the best choreography on Broadway. It's overwhelming. I'm still going through realizations of what it is.
When I spoke to you the day after, on a Monday. Not calling you too early, by the way. It sounded like there was a party going on.
It wasn't a party. It was just my household was exploding. I think I slept like 2 hours that night. I got home at 4 and I was up at 6, and I was bouncing all over the place. And the phone never stopped.
Sometimes when you see the people who come up and win awards, Tony or the Oscar, that they have a set speech that they prepared. Is it really true for you and for others that the excitement is just there, no matter how much success you've had?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely true. The excitement is there. You go through mixed emotions. Do you prepare a speech and jinx yourself? Because if you have something that's already ready, are you going to get it? And then it's like, do you actually verbalize it and say it out loud in your bathroom or in your bedroom to see if it comes out of your mouth? Then you're afraid to do that because you don't want to jinx yourself. I put it off until finally I kind of like jotted down some ideas, and I got some points that I wanted to talk about. And I took a piece of paper about as big as this, and I folded it up, and it was in my tuxedo pants. And I thought, I'll take this out if I get into trouble. I'm not going to take no paper out. You forget that there's a paper even there.
Some people did, however.
Right, some people did. But I think by the time I got the paper out and tried to see my handwriting and then try to read, that the time would have gone. And we had 30 seconds because they tried to get all the awards in there, and that's so difficult. Plus, there's so much emotional stuff going on. So I think the thing that was successful is that I had drilled in the points. I wanted it to acknowledge the company. I wanted to thank the producers and the recognition and stuff. And then they had the listing of people that underneath that, which took the edge off. You didn't want to insult anybody.
Throw it on the screen.
And then I always thought to myself, why do entertainers get into thanking their family? Their family has nothing to do with the process. But what I realized this time, and I think I was nominated other times, but I think this time I was present, if you understand what I mean. I was there, and I realized what what it was that I was doing and maybe receiving. And the fact that this little family of mine, these 3 sons and my wife, deal with me every day, and they go through all of the emotions that I go through in the process of putting a piece together. And there's a lot of highs and lows. And it was important for me to acknowledge that.
Now, you've been nominated before. You also won several awards for the Who's Tommy this year. You won the Fred Astaire Award. There was the Drama Desk Award. But the Tony's something special, isn't it? It's really the peak of it all.
Right.
It's an exceptional show, and I want to talk a little bit about it. I don't want to talk too much about the surprises, and there are lots of surprises. But the show is very visual. It's tremendously visual. There are things that happen all the time. And as I watched it, I wondered how much of it was choreography, dancing, and how much of it was staging, I suppose, blocking, as they call in the theater. Is the show...
Well, the show is totally choreographed, and there's moments where you get into blocking, so to speak, because there's like the ballads and stuff where it's in an environment where it's you could be doing a scene. But in the reality of it is that it's a rock concert, and the downbeat of the show, you start counting. Those kids started counting, dancers or choreographers count in 8s instead of bars. Bars for music, and we count in 8s. I guess if you started counting in bars, you would have, I don't know how many bars in that show. But anyway, from the downbeat, you start counting in 8s. And every entrance, every exit, every move is to a musical count. So that's all basically choreographed. And when someone gets up and crosses over and does that, it's all traffic and choreography.
Different than any other show that you've done in that sense?
This was a lot more involved because this was, like I said, total music, total seamless. It just blended from one thing to another.
Yeah, but you mentioned that it's like a rock concert.
Right.
But I looked at the audience. There were a lot of people who might be called yuppies, mid-30s, younger, but there were a lot of older people there, and everybody, even Frank Rich loved it, so it must have appeal to not only the people who are nostalgic about rock music.
Right. Well, I just think that people that know the Who's Tommy, there's a following, and the music is great. I think that the surprise element is once you sit down in the theater, there's a book. There's an actual through line, a plot that's going on.
It did surprise me.
And you think it's going to be an outrageous rock and roll concert, but in reality, the prologue of the show tells you so much information. I mean, there's so much information before the actual show begins about going off to war and the canteen, and they're celebrating before they leave, and then there's a drill team, and then there's the firing, and then he's missing, and so by time the downbeat happens, you're already getting news that he's missing in action, and she's getting this letter that he's gone. So I mean, that's what's so interesting about the show, is that you get tricked into a book. It's definitely a book musical.
And there is a story that runs through it completely, and it's not just music.
No.
But in addition to the story, which you're absolutely right, I was really surprised because I had no idea that there was a storyline that went through it, and it's an appealing story. It's not just a fluff story.
And you're hitting some major issues: child abuse and two parents trying to get a child to respond to them, and all of that trauma stuff. It's pretty amazing.
And the way it's portrayed, showing him as he grows up through various ages, is very, very cleverly done. Of course, a lot of this has been revealed in some of the things that have been on television and in some of the film clips that have been shown, and I know there was 2 numbers that were done on the Tonight Show that show, but you don't get the feeling of what's going on there until you see it. How about the mechanics, the spectacular mechanics of all the things that are happening? A lot of surprises, and I don't want to go into details about them. I'm tempted to.
You mean the set moving in and out and all of that?
Well, more than the set moving in and out. It's some of the things that happen in entrances and coming in from different places and coming in different ways, and things happening where you don't expect them to happen. And well, I may as well reveal it. The whole theater turning into into a pinball machine.
Right.
I mean, some of those things are unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I remember years ago I saw something up at SUNY Purchase where they had a show where there were waves in the pit, and then at the end it all collapsed. And then after the applause, it just came right back up again. And that was something that really surprised the people and got a lot of attention. I think what happens on the stage at the St. James is more spectacular than that, because there are things that happen that have never been seen before.
Well, I just think it's the whole creative team. It was a total collaboration, and John Arnone made the set dance. And with the help of Des and I, we moved it, made transitions. Des McAnuff, the director. It's just a piece that is nonstop. I think the generation of today, the MTV, so to speak, generation, is so used to seeing visuals that I think the exciting thing about Tommy is that it's contemporary in the fact that it's a visual show. We're telling a story with movement, and it's nonstop movement, and it's like telling a story in any MTV video that you see. Hopefully, we're much better than that because we're really telling a major story for 2 hours.
But there's some exceptional dancing, really dancing in there. Is there a Wayne Cilento style?
People have been saying that to me, and I don't know what that is. All I know is that I want to be part of the new generation, and I know I have a history of the old theatrical training. I've been blessed to be involved with Michael Bennett and Bob Fosse and some other major choreographer directors.
You feel influenced by them a great deal?
I just feel I've learned a lot. I've had the opportunity to do 2 shows with Bob, 2 shows with Michael, and they're just geniuses in the way they move everything around. How the stage picture moves, and Bob, all his specific elements in dance and choreography and stuff. And that's a valuable lesson to learn. So I forgot what I was talking about.
We were talking about whether there was a Wayne Cilento style.
So who knows what that is? I just know that I wanted to incorporate what I know that works in theater, and plus an edge, a contemporary edge, and whatever comes out of my body, maybe the thing. I had to research for the show. I had to do research in period. We do the 40s, which we do the jitterbug. We do the 50s, which I did a swing thing in Sensation. The kids turned into this. The youth club exploded. Then in Pinball Wizard, I got into the 60s, which was Elvis Presley moves, and I researched
How do you work all this out? I know the rehearsal process and the development process, and we do have a photo here of you in the process at this point. And is it all planned out in your head first and then put on paper?
It's not put on paper, but it is in my head. It's a visual in my head that I may get as I'm driving to the city, and then I do pre-production time by myself and my assistant, who was Lisa Mordente, who is Chita Rivera's daughter. And I do pre-production time, and and discussing things with Des and what he visualizes, and I have to physicalize, come up with ideas and moves and stuff, and then it's a process of trial and error.
And so you go into the rehearsal studio and work with the individual dancers, the entire
The
cast.
way I work is that I basically get a vocabulary of movement that I want to use for a particular number, and I'll teach combinations. Then when I'm actually putting the piece together, everything in our show comes from a reality, a real situation. So that's why I think there isn't a ta-da ending. There aren't production numbers. It just weaves from a situation. It grows into a dance number, and then it fades out into another situation. So it all has to come from a true emotion. So So in the process of doing that, there's a lot of give and take. It's like, okay, you try that, you do this. As they're doing that, this group over here is going to do this. Everything is individually choreographed until the piece falls into place.
But you said that you don't put it on paper, but isn't there some notation that other people can pick up?
My assistant and the dance captain will, notate ideas of what particular steps and moves that I've done. And a great piece of equipment that has come into today is video taping. You get your little camera out and you go, okay, and she grabs it, and I'm killing myself doing dance moves, and she films me, and then we can look back and I can say, oh, I did that, and I like that, I don't like that, let's change that.
So actually, you teach by showing them the steps? By doing the steps?
Yeah, I'm the type of choreographer that has to dance.
Do all choreographers work that way?
Not really.
Just say, do this?
Well, they either say, do this, watch my assistant, and the assistant does it, or say, in Bob Fosse's way of doing it, he did it. And I feel like I do that. I have to, if I can't dance it, and if I can't feel what I want those kids to do, then I don't feel it's good enough. And it has to move me physically and excite me. And if it doesn't excite me, then I don't think it's right. So I'm still dancing. I'm still doing it.
This show was done originally at La Jolla Playhouse in
La Jolla
in California.
Right.
Did they have the same facilities to be able to do it?
They have a great facilities. We actually did almost everything that we've done. The second act is changed. The second act, we added the second act big production number. We didn't blow up the theater into a pinball machine. We didn't get into that, only because I think of the budget cost. But I think if we wanted to, certainly La Jolla is equipped to do it.
Now, back to choreography. You choreographed Baby,
right?
And Jerry's Girls.
Right.
Did you do?
Right.
Was your style different at that time? Have you evolved?
My style is what I need to do for the piece at the time, I guess. Whatever, Baby, I was choreographing three ladies in a doctor's office expecting a child. So how do you do that? So, what is that style? And I did that. The biggest number in Baby was that the baseball number, which I turned into a rock and roll number, because there was the rocker. What was his name? Danny. Jerry's Girls was just a fantasy. I had to choreograph for Cheetah Rivera, and it was like, what could I make this woman do? So I did showgirl numbers. I did a number where she was a man. I turned all the women into men for La Cage, and we did really tight masculine movements, which was really exciting, and then all the other staging and stuff.
Now you've worked with her quite a bit, because her act, which I saw at the Lehman Performing Arts Center in the Bronx,
right.
You not only choreographed that act, but you also performed. You were one of the two men in that,
right?
And she's remarkable. It's wonderful to know that she won the Tony.
Right.
Sunday night
as
well, but not only is she a remarkable performer, but just to come back from that terrible accident that she had,
amazing.
And that she can do the things that she does.
Right.
Does the performer indicate? Are you led by the performer in what you can do in choreographing?
Yeah. But I don't think that should limit you. I think you should. I think if you're smart as a choreographer, you take what a performer has and try to pull more out of it and enhance it. It would be stupid for me to try to make Michael Cerveris be a dancer. So what we did was we collaborated in the fact where we went dancing together. And I saw Michael dance in a club, and I liked the way he moved. And I said, Michael, that's the way...
Let's say what role he plays.
Michael is Tommy.
Okay.
Michael Cerveris is Tommy. I said, Michael, that's the way you should move in the show. He said, really? I said, yeah. And I gave him confidence enough to know that I liked the way he moved, and he should definitely do that. And I worked it into the piece. And there's the 1 second in the second act where all the louts, who are his cronies, who push him around in the show, do this military service thing, guard type thing,
Right.
and I did feel me, hear me, see me as moves. So it goes dum bum ba dum bum. So it's my own trip, but that's where I came up with the move. But anyway, Michael was at a club once, and he was doing this kind of like Vogue thing, and it was a mock-up of what I had done. And Des had seen him. I wasn't there that night. And Des says, Michael's doing this great stuff. We should use it in the show. And I asked him to show me what it was. And it was a variation of what I had given the guys. But Michael was playing around in the club, and he did it. So we put it in the show.
You talked about the creative team, and let's give them all credit. And we'll put on the screen a view of you with them. Why don't you tell us who they are from left to right?
Okay. Joe Church is the musical supervisor.
On the left.
Right, on the left.
Is he musical director as well?
Musical director, and he was in the creative process with all of us. We did a lot of pre-production meetings with Des before we actually started. Ripped apart the movie version, the concert version, and the actual Who version of the music. It took all pieces of Pete's music, and we did all the underscoring and stuff. So he was involved with that whole process.
And next in the picture is
Pete Townsend, who is the composer, author.
Wrote the book and
the music.
And the music.
An amazing man. Really, everyone thinks he's a rocker and he's crazy. He's very soft-spoken. He's very serious. He knows what he's written. He's intelligent, and he kind of supervised us. And he was really involved with the process.
And next in the picture?
Des Mackinoff, who is the director. He came up with the visual of what the show is, and basically we sat with him and listened to his ideas, and him and I bounced back and forth, and he said, this is what I like. I said, well, this is what we can try, and we did whatever we do to come up with whatever it worked for the show. So it's a great team.
And of course, the man on the left is you, and the creative geniuses who, if you'll forgive me for saying that, who put this together. I have not seen in recent memory, and maybe in long time memory, such a reaction from an audience. The standing ovation, the yelling and the screaming, people of all ages, was unbelievable to me. Perhaps the only thing that I can really say that parallels this is when they originally saw Fiddler on the Roof, and people just stood up and clapped in rhythm to the music at the end. But I can't remember anything that equaled this. It is
Chorus line.
Yeah, chorus line. Let's talk about chorus line.
It was a different emotion, though.
A different emotion. But let's talk about chorus line, because you were in the original company. That whole process was an interesting one. Were you part of the original? I did all of it, the taping, everything. The taping and that whole thing. And which number did you do in that? I can do that. That was Mike Costa. Right. It was a long time ago. That was. This is another person sitting here. You don't look old enough to do anything a long time ago, really. Yeah. Why do you say that it's another person sitting here? Oh, God, I feel like I've grown so much. I was such a baby. And I was so fortunate to be in such a big hit musical. And the other thing is, where do you go after chorus line? You know, a lot of people got stuck. I was just fortunate enough to be in the show, and because of the show, people acknowledged my work and thought I could choreograph, and I started getting choreographic opportunities. And I never was interested in doing choreography. I just did it because I thought it would be fun. And I started doing commercials first. So you did a lot of commercials? I did a lot of commercials. That's where I started choreographing. I think that's the reason why I could make real people dance and dancers look like real people. And I think that's an important element. I think maybe that's part of what my style is. It's not just dancers being dancers doing stuff that you or anyone could relate to. I mean, they're actually dancing, and people in the audience may think, I'll get up, I can do that. You know, I can do that. So the chorus line experience, you said you were young, you were a baby, it was so long ago, and you've grown so much since then. But that was probably a major turning point in your career because of the acclaim and the show. But you know, it's really interesting. Everyone thinks chorus line was a turning point in my career.
I actually had a very. I feel like I'm on a high now. I think this Tony thing and Tommy is. Careers have like highs and lows, major highs, major lows. Anyway, I think that was a high in my career. The chorus line, I did the act with Liza, and then I did dancing, and it was all in the same time span. Chorus line was I did 2.5 years. Then I left chorus line. I felt like I was getting stale, and I needed to move on, and I did the act with Liza. It was a show, and I just went back to the chorus. I just danced in the chorus. And there was only 4 guys. The reviews that I got for the act were unbelievable. Clive Barnes singled me out. Everyone just really singled me out. And I got incredible amounts of recognition. And I was a chorus boy again. I wasn't, this spectacular lineup of individuals in a chorus line. And then from there, I got dancing. And Bob Fosse took me out of the act. Before I even opened in the act, I knew I was going to do dancing. I couldn't tell Liza, because I think she would have had a breakdown, that I was going to leave. But I stayed for like 2 or 3 months in the act. And then I did dancing. And then I think I really landed in dancing. I got a Tony nomination for supporting actor. And I just think chorus line, the act, dancing, kind of like snowballed and made me land. And that's where so I think it's a combination of all 3, or the time span that got me to where I was at that point. And then I think I was stuck. Then I think after dancing, it was like, okay, what do I do? Do I do leading roles in musicals? Do I choreograph? That's when I got a little stuck. That's when I started choreographing and performing and flip-flopping back and forth.
Which you're still doing now.
Sure, if someone asked me to dance and perform, I would.
But now, with this great achievement, what's the change? Do you expect the office to pour in? Do you have something in the works that you want to tell us about?
The exciting thing that's happened out of this is that I'm going to put together Pete Townshend's new concert tour.
So that's news.
Yeah. He's releasing a new album called Psychoderelict, and he asked me to help direct and choreograph the show. And
when will that be?
His first performance, I think, is July 9th, somewhere in the city. I think they were talking about the Met or something. And so that's real exciting. I'm excited that I'm doing that.
And the future?
The future, I think, work makes work. People, you're around for years. People know that you're around, but when they start hearing your name, then they start going, oh, yeah. Oh, he's really good. Let's call him up. Let's do that. The phone has not stopped ringing, so hopefully more projects will come about. I'm happy that I'm part of this new generation of Broadway. I think Tommy is a major achievement.
And I think that one major achievement is that we've run out of time.
Oh, great.
So I thank you very much for coming. It's been most enjoyable talking to you today.
Great.
My guest today has been Wayne Cilento, the choreographer of The Who's Tony Award winner. I'm Norman Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. Join me next week at the same time, and until then, enjoy yourself.